All right, so this is our second official podcast now.
Yeah, it's been about a month or so,
I,
month or
I
so,
think
two
more.
months. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a little while ago.
it's a little while. I mean, now the school year's done, and this time we have very special guests on the show.
Us, the founders of Corridor IQ.
I'm excited. I think
Yeah,
this will be a great time for us to be able to reflect a little bit on the last couple of months and talk about what it's like internally at CorridorIQ and share a lot of the things that we talk about on a daily basis
yeah,
in the world of entrepreneurship and AI and what that actually.
yeah. I think it's crazy, frankly. There's a whole paradigm shift. We've come so much since it's only been 2 months-ish, and
Mm-hmm.
we've grown so much as a company and
Mm-hmm.
founders
Mm-hmm.
and it's super exciting just
Mm-hmm.
like being able to jump on in this new sort of era of
Yeah.
Corridor IQ and like just the world, the
Yeah.
economy. So yeah.
It's exciting. I mean, I know we've been talking about it a lot, and I think today we'll break it down into interfaces and components.
Hmm.
It was great, but it's like very invigorating to now be like, wow, there's no more
Yeah.
bottlenecks.
Yeah, no more excuses now.
Was
Which
there ever
is
excuses?
sometimes you could say like I have this one test or
Yeah,
I have
well, it
this one.
didn't stop us.
That's true. That's true. That's true. But now there's like we are going at it full time for the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
So that's extremely invigorating, but also somewhat daunting in the
Mm-hmm.
sense that like we have all this unstructured time to do whatever we deem is best. And
Mm-hmm.
that's really exciting, but also a big responsibility. So
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yeah,
yeah.
it is. It's really exciting. It's funny, typically it's like summer break, but for us it was like this year has just felt a little different. Like literally, I think Thursday I had my last exam.
Hmm.
You finished, what was it, Wednesday?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wednesday.
and
Yeah.
then yesterday morning we were in the office and
Yeah.
and
Just
going.
chugging away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean it's awesome. It's a really, I feel really fortunate
Hmm.
to be in this position. But one thing I want to start and hit on is I've been hearing so much. I think there's a lot of talk right now about what it means to be an AI native company, or we're implementing AI, or we're
Hmm.
AI first, and like what does that actually mean? And maybe we could attack it from how we've done it at Corridor IQ and kind of break down the uh I don't
Yeah.
though it's a lot of buzzwords.
Yes, there's so many buzzwords. A lot of the time it's like we set up co-work or
Mm-hmm.
we made a few uh, prompts for the team, which is a fantastic start, don't get
Mm-hmm.
me wrong,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that's you can't just say like we're bringing AI intelligent systems and engineering to this big firm. You have to be extremely intentional with
Yeah, well,
that.
everyone's talking about it. I mean, one interesting takeaway I have is like from the perspective of both finishing, a college degree still, being a founder, and then also, the lens of seeing into the enterprise world where every domain is fighting to get, you know, to implement AI. And
Yeah.
like, I think it breaks down into a few buckets. The ones that I think about is your like the context of your company, and thinking
Yep.
about whether it's a company, whatever it is, does your context exist and is it queryable and accessible?
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. Do you want to like break that?
Yeah,
You want
it's
we can go into that, or like what is there other
yeah,
what
I mean that's a huge topic. I think like that's part of the fundamental reasons people see differences in AI output. It's like people say, your Claude's better than mine, your GPT is better than mine. A lot of that is because you have to engineer the context that you give it. Um,
what do you mean? Like elaborate on that. Like let's say like
yeah,
because like honestly, I had to wrap my head around that for quite some time before I understand, because I hear all the time, memory, context, and like what does that literally mean?
yeah. So, I mean, within the corridor, within our startup, we use a brain. We call
Mm-hmm.
it the corridor brain,
Mm-hmm.
and we do the way we structure our file systems, our GitHub, our Google Drive, all of our files. We have to make it so it's like you said, it's a query away from for any AI agent.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you led a lot of the brain development,
Mm-hmm.
so I'd love to, yeah.
Well, I'll walk back a few steps. Okay, so I think it's important, like growing up for school and other business type projects, it was the drag and drop paradigm, right?
Hmm.
PDF here, Word document here, I either drag and drop into a folder, or then kind of the dawn of the ChatGPT moment in 2022,
Yep.
dragging and dropping a single file into ChatGPT. I remember the first time that I did that, and I was like, oh my gosh, it can edit my work. Like, that's
Yeah.
wow. And then there was a natural evolution where there was projects in ChatGPT, and I remember I mean, this is crazy to think about, but it was just a year ago, or even less, even in this fall, working on school projects, even Corridor
Hmm.
at the beginning. Um, I'd make these folders with explicit instructions. Here's what we're working on. Here's why. And then I'm going to drag and drop all these PDFs and Excel sheets and spreadsheets, or
Yeah.
and PowerPoints. Sorry. And that was okay, but it's kind of like you just don't know what you don't know. But it was so much context and so much file storage. And then I think the next evolution from that has been Markdown and HTML for everything, and structuring, whether you're doing school, whether you're doing a startup, whether you're in a company. It's like, how do you get the domain knowledge, which is like people's perspectives, the files, the quantitative data, into a organized file system that's
Hmm.
almost like a Wikipedia, where like it's like if you went to a book and you had the first chapter of a book,
Yeah.
or sorry, like it's like a table of contents. And I think that's what context means for an AI agent. It's like you have to think about it like, if you gave, a friend who has no information about you a giant 1,000-page book that had everything about you,
Hmm.
and just said, okay, study this,
Yeah.
come back to me in an hour, it would get bits and pieces, right? But it would just not know where to start, where to look. Because if I said, all right, go find like my favorite food, and it was on page 700,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
going to comb through every page. But if there's a table of contents that's like, preferences, identity,
Hmm.
favorite meals, and it's a very like simplified down example.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I think about structure and context for a company, for an individual, and then it's got to be all native. So like
Yeah.
Markdown. I mean,
Yeah. And like
do you think that was like a good way to?
that was a great way to say. But when do you think that
Mhm.
like that shift happened?
That's a good question. Hmm. Well, from I was maybe later than some of the folks on the bleeding edge for sure, but for
We all are. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That shift happened for me, I think, really like aggressively over maybe around late November, December, when there was the breakthrough with the coding models, and namely Claude Code. Was
Hmm.
it Opus
Four, 5.
4.5?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember like using it the first few times, and was just like, okay, this is not like just using ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And I just aggressive reading podcasts and just hearing some other folks in the space talk about Markdown and structuring your context and setting up a code base or a company
Hmm.
to be agent native. Like, can you explain what like agent native means? But with CorridorIQ, our company, we've had the ability, and of course, we founded this company in the era of AI, and
Hmm.
so we didn't have to refactor what was done before. But do you want to talk about like the agent docs and like the paradigm shift of like engineering for designing for agents?
I think like the first thing is like exactly the agent docs. The way you scaffold, like our GitHub is kind of like our Google Drive.
You provide like like a snippet of like GitHub and like agent docs for like someone who's never used GitHub.
Yeah, so agent docs is anything like the agent would need to understand, company context,
Hmm.
the way you make decisions,
Hmm.
your goals maybe,
And the technical design of the
and
yeah.
absolutely the scheme of your database, how your code is structured, etc.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think a good any good file system is organized.
Yes. And now it's like how do you optimize it to where if you had, you know, an intern or like some really strong engineer that never saw your code base before could easily go through all those docs, get all of your business context and your code context is a new paradigm. And
Hmm.
part of the engineering comes from exactly the way you even structure the agent docs
Hmm.
is certainly a paradigm shift. And for me, I think what is a huge part of being an AI native company
Hmm.
is you have to leverage AI to amplify the strengths of the company, whether that's the founders,
Hmm.
and it's that to go back to like the file system, like we were gathering context for a month before we even thought about bringing AI into forming the
Mm-hmm.
company itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that like it's part of it. It's a key workflow. It's you don't go to the AI in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the AI after you know, go on the whiteboard, you draw it all out, you synthesize all of your thoughts. And the
Mm-hmm.
job of the AI is not to think for you, it's just to amplify
Mm-hmm.
the thoughts that you've already been having. So,
Yeah, interesting. That I think that was a really good way of explaining what can be an abstract concept, and I think probably anything that's organized really in an efficient manner, it's intuitive. And I think before I remember when we first started building out our code base, it just made sense for us to say when we were using Claude Code, to say, hey, like this is what we're doing, this is why. I want you to design this where I'm the one, overseeing it.
yeah.
But you, the agent, to actually tell me how it's best to organize this. So
Yeah.
you and any other future coding agent will always be able to know where things live, why they live there, learn over time. And I think we eventually turned it into a skill,
Mm-hmm.
called Docs to update our documentation. But I remember for at least a couple months, every time we were doing a coding session, the beginning would start with read every piece of documentation and understand what you're working on and why.
Yeah.
And every coding session would end with, okay, make sure every piece of documentation reflects what we implemented, it's in the right place, and that you've appended and updated a Markdown file of what you learned
Mm-hmm.
and gotchas. So like,
Yeah.
it's a flywheel. Every time we went in the code base or an agent did under our guidance, it was going to compound and learn and learn and learn and learn. And now we have, uh, months of that. And I will nuance this all. There was a clip that went viral recently, of Andre Karpathy
Yep.
sharing, it actually was a tweet that he was kind of putting out there. But the idea was that AI is super powerful and it can be easy to outsource your thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But he said, at least still today, you cannot outsource your understanding because humans, whether it's in education, whether it's the co-founders of a business, whether it's, in any domain, you are still part of the system, and the large language models don't fundamentally understand the whole system around them. And there's an example that I think would be interesting to nuance what we've kind of talked about this all with. The story of, without revealing any specific details, recently, Luke and I were working on some serious data analysis for our company.
Yep.
A lot of numbers and files where we needed to really find some good insights. And we set up an environment and pointed, I think, GPT-5.5 and Claude
Mm-hmm.
at these,
Yeah,
thousands of rows
on
of
like
data.
their highest settings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we were like, okay, like help us, spot patterns, find outliers, and it did exactly that. We let it do it, and then we were kind of reviewing it ourselves, and we were reviewing one finding that I think GPT 5.5 made, and we were like, oh wow, looks really good, and we started to dig into it for about 30 or 40 minutes, and then at one point, I actually turned to Luke and I said, wait, I don't um, I don't think this actually would be possible due to a societal constraint.
Yeah.
It just didn't logically or feasibility, it wasn't going to
Yeah.
work. And then we kind of, what was like, I remember that moment in the car and we were like, wait.
Yeah, no, you actually put it so well in the car. You said it makes sense empirically, but not logically.
Mm-hmm,
Like it literally looked at the patterns
mm-hmm,
and it did a great job, but the business logic aspect of it completely failed. And this also touches on like at the end of the day, you are responsible for what AI, the tool,
mm-hmm,
does. Like you can't just go and let's say if we came to the people we were working on
mm-hmm,
this for and said like we brought that thesis and we just said, AI found it, we think it will work, we would get grilled.
mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, it's a perfect case study that like you still need the human in the loop and AI still will, I won't say never, but like it still struggles to grok like the business context and the
Yeah, it
biz.
doesn't fundamentally understand the world around itself yet. And I
Yeah.
think talking about what it means to be an AI native company,
Mm-hmm.
our company's queryable. We have agents working around the clock for us. I think our job as founders, and all founders' job, especially in this era of AI-powered business, is to never outsource their understanding of the system. Because maybe this will change, but today we are still fundamentally part of the system, and every piece of output we have to own. And I think when you understand that perspective and take the time to do that thinking and do the higher order thinking of like, what's the why? Who are the people I'm working with and for? And what's the desired outcome? And then point this intelligent, basically super intern at these things with the right harness around it. And part of that harness is you.
Yes.
That's something I do not think is talked about enough. There's something called, for anyone who doesn't know, there's a term called harness engineering, which is really kind of became mainstreamed. And in the most simple definition, a harness, if you think about in the middle of a system, Claude Code, right? Or Opus 4.7, an AI model, you put a harness or infrastructure around it so it has tools, i.e. the ability to search the web and call a database. It's got skills, for example, having instructions on how to do data analysis, right? It's got these different pieces that let this generalist become more of a specialist. But one thing that I don't think that is talked about enough is the orchestrator human that scaffolds these harnesses. And I'd like to ask you, what do you think as a founder of a truly AI native company, where you sit in the harness of any given agent or agentic system?
Yeah, and I mean, I'll start. I think you should also answer
Yeah.
That's such a good question. I think the first thing is knowledge is slowly becoming cheaper. But what that also means is that the value of deep domain expertise is going to remain extremely valuable. If you treat knowledge like a log graph, it's just very steep in the beginning, but then it slowly levels off. That part where it levels off, that's where you, the human, are in the loop, in the harness, where that deep domain expertise comes in, and that's where the human is in the loop, in my view. That's sort of like, just like in that case we were just talking about, like the human aspect of like, there's a societal constraint here that is going to inhibit what the analysis of Claude and GPT both flagged. So I think that's the high level portion of where you are in the harness, because the job of the founder is to be the visionary. Like it's your job to shatter your glass ceilings, and the job of the AI is like, you tell it this crazy thesis, very visionary thesis, and AI is like, okay, this is how we'll do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, to add on to that, in today's era of product and innovation, it was fascinating. Maybe we'll actually play the clip really quick, but Boris, creator of Claude Code, who don't know, shared recently on a podcast that when they were at Anthropic Labs and their team was incubating and working on Claude Code, they actually knew at the earliest they were probably 6 months away from any type of product market fit, which is like, oh yeah, but when you actually stop and think about that, like imagine working on a product that like at best is going to maybe find product market fit in 6 months. And maybe it was a perfect storm of the models getting, just unbelievably better. And the harness they had built for Claude Code, it exploded, obviously changed the world. And so to come back to your question, the role, I believe, of the human in the harness is to orchestrate and design harnesses and systems and be the one that challenges the assumptions and raises the level of thinking. So for us at CorridorIQ, one of the things that we're talking a lot about now is intelligent research as a service. And like, that's, hard to wrap your head around, but I think the world of entrepreneurship and startups is, I'm finding more and more of our peer founders and even the business we're seeing at what we do. I mean, we provide migration intelligence with our systems, but more of it bleeds into like a service, and it's really like service
Yeah.
becoming, service as a software we always talk about, which I think you can
Mm-hmm.
really break down into different areas. But what I'm getting at is if these intelligent systems are only going to continue to get better, I believe those who have the context and the biggest thinking to say, okay, in 6 months' time, what doesn't seem like it should be working right now, but will. Like,
Yeah.
maybe anyone and everyone will be running machine learning on on a project to project basis.
Yeah.
And in the past, it's like, no, that would take too long, and there's too much that goes into that. And it's like, well, maybe we can compress that time and provide that as a service in an industry that's been typically slower to adopt that. It's like, well, if you're evaluating an investment thesis
Mm-hmm.
or looking at, different real estate acquisitions, why not run machine learning on years of your data and have a predictive model?
Yeah.
Because you can do that if you point these in systems at that problem with the right understanding. So I'd say the human's job, long-winded answer, what's new? Um, the human's job is to try to understand the system and the components and how they interact as best as
Yeah.
possible.
And like, I think you also nailed it. It's like that big thinking. Like, that's a skill. Like, how
Hmm.
do you flex that muscle of like consistently thinking big and challenging like those assumptions?
Yeah, you know, it's quite frankly challenging. I think I'm very thankful I've grew up in an environment where I was consistently challenged to think that way.
Uh-huh.
I credit a lot of that probably to my mother. But when I think about our, um, how we operate as founders, I think it's carving out time to stop and say, well, what is it actually going to be like in 6 months or a
Yeah.
year, or even, the conversation we had the other day where it's like, how often have you actually challenged yourself to envision what 10 years might look like, or 20 or 30 years? Like,
Yeah. It's extremely difficult.
and it's quite frankly uncomfortable sometimes
Very,
because
yeah.
if it's easier, um, and faster and cheaper to start a business
Mm-hmm.
and make it a real business, and there's lower barriers to entry, what do you think separates the best founders and operators that you see
Yeah.
in this? Yeah.
Yeah, certainly. I think first first thing is like AI is an amplifier.
Hmm.
It amplifies your intangibles.
And where do
So
those come from, you think?
that's just how you're raised, man.
Yeah.
Like that's that I think that comes down to, do you enjoy solving hard problems? Do you it's completely malleable to whatever your strengths
Hmm.
are. And it doesn't have to be like technical. It can be creative.
Yeah.
It can be it's really whatever you want. It's just about finding and tuning those strengths accordingly. So specifically in entrepreneurship, um, it's difficult. I think the element of creativity and understanding like what is the if we're going to talk about augmenting AI, like what is the actual space of what AI can do, and how do you consistently like flex that muscle
Right.
of like big thinking, challenge those assumptions, because that's a very mentally taxing and like uncomfortable thing to do, especially if you do it a lot. Zave, like continuing on the discussion of like we've talked about scaffolding AI, making sure it has persistent memory, but how are we using AI internally every single day?
There's a few things. The first thing that I'm very proud of, and I know that you are too, is something we had this vision when we started the company of what if every strategy session we have, what if all of our meetings, what if all of our uh, mentors, what if all of our feedback sessions
Yep.
can be a living, breathing part of our company? And that's what we've done. So something we do every single day is when we have a meeting internally or, getting feedback or on a sales call,
Mm-hmm.
those notes are immediately with a workflow, given to Cloud Code or Codex
Mm-hmm.
with a skill we've made called transcribe, which takes that, structures it into both JSON and Markdown, and lives in one of our databases.
Mm-hmm.
And, at first it was helpful, but pretty quickly I was like, wow, this is actually a big deal.
Yeah, it's like necessary.
Yeah, I mean, there's many different dependencies that come out of that. There's on the engineering and coding side, on the like writing email side, on the creating documents, on the strategy side. But we've created this database of living, breathing, real world experiences that it sounds quite visionary, but truly, it's actually the leader of I think it may have been what was the company? It was Jack Dorsey, I believe, who said
Yeah.
your company should be like the intelligent AI system internally, and
Hmm.
then the humans on the edges take action. And
Yeah.
that's really what
That's a
has
big,
happened to
yeah.
us. Do you want to talk about like how we go from like a meeting or strategy session into a database to an agent to like the engineering side of it? Like how has it transformed your workflow like when it comes to like working on a feature, a bug
Yeah.
fix,
Yeah.
and like
Yeah. So, I mean, I will sit down, open my computer to however terminal windows I had last night, and I'll ask,
5, 6?
who knows at this place, who knows? And I'll open my coding agent. I typically use Claude Code, and I'll ask it, okay, we have this feature request. We need to go see what was actually said,
Mm-hmm.
3 weeks ago
Mm-hmm.
with this person at this specific time. It'll go and figure it out, and it'll come back to me and say, okay, this person said this, this, and this. You said this. This is what needs to be done.
How do you make sure that there's not like a gap of understanding between you and the agent? Because I feel like that's a big problem sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. So first, sometimes I'll actually go look into those transcripts themselves
Mm-hmm.
to make sure we're clear. And there's this popular skill we've been using called Grill Me.
Great skill.
Great skill. It takes a while though, because sometimes it asks like 60 questions. But what it does is it basically interviews me on what is the job to be done,
Right.
what are the constraints, what like do you need to be, what do I need to do as the agent, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It takes some time. It's difficult, but it's
Mm-hmm.
necessary.
Mm-hmm.
It's necessary because that's the step, the counter step, I guess, to outsourcing your thinking. You have to think yourself and do that. So
Is there ever times where like the agent will ask you a question and you're like, wow, I actually maybe haven't thought
yeah,
about that yet.
all the time,
So
all
it's
the
almost
time.
like that's the human, like the orchestrator's job, like to think through the system, and then
Hmm.
you design. I think it was actually the same guy, Matt. I don't know, Matt Peacock, I think is his
Yeah.
last name. If I mispronounced that, Matt, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But he talked about that a lot, like how for an agentic code base, it needs to have like many interfaces that are clearly organized,
Yeah.
that are deep modules,
Yeah.
that then you let the agent do the implementation. And it sounds like that's your exact workflow. And like being AI native means every piece of our company is an interface. For
Hmm.
example, meeting goes to a transcript, goes to a database
Yeah.
in the same structure. So then a week or two later, you're coding on this feature. You
Hmm.
point the agent at the right place, it queries it,
Yeah.
comes back to you. You break down any barrier of what you are both trying to communicate. You get clear, and then you let the agent implement and you review.
Yeah. Let the agent implement, review, and then ship it. And
And
then yeah,
and it's like a time compression.
it's ridiculous how fast it compresses time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you spend I want to follow up because I actually saw we'll put on the screen here a really interesting tweet about the human's job in not just for startup founders, but in managing agentic AI systems because you can do so much more. And I
Hmm.
think Aaron Levy from Box has been really vocal about this, that those AI native companies, founders, individuals are not doing less.
Yeah.
We're not doing less. We're working from 8 a.m. till we can't anymore.
Yeah.
And
Literally.
like because you can just do more.
Yeah.
And for if when you realize that, you're like, wait a second, like all these ideas that have been bottlenecked, I can just start building them.
Yeah. It keeps me up at night
Yeah,
sometimes. Yeah.
it's exciting, but it's also a different type of mental strain, I find.
Yeah.
I find that my finite energy and time is spent thinking, strategizing, communicating with different forms of it, whether it's
Yeah.
voiced, writing, text, images,
Yeah. And like
yeah,
rigorously.
rigorously. Then
Yeah.
let the agent implement, and then reviewing to make sure it's what we intended.
Yeah.
But it's a different type of mental strain per se.
Yeah.
And two questions: one, like how would you describe that mental load?
Hmm.
And two, how do you manage it? And what is your strategy to try to be as productive as possible
Yeah.
in a new paradigm of getting work done?
Caffeine, number one.
Cheers.
Yeah, caffeine is fantastic at that. What I do typically, it does take a large load of cognitive strain,
Yeah.
but that's a good thing because, and it also speaks to at the higher level, like it's maybe it will come at some point, but at least for now, that human in the loop managing the agents is not the bottleneck is not the right way to say it, but that's integral and you still require human judgment
Mm-hmm.
in the loop.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be extremely intentional and it's hard because you as the user in the loop need to be crystal clear as to like what needs to be done
Yeah.
and especially in the business sense, which I know you're really savvy at,
Mm-hmm.
it's a very similar thing. So
Do you think that 'cause it's a lot of reading.
yeah,
It's really like reading comprehension and then like speaking.
yeah,
Do you think reading a lot as a kid has helped you? Like when you
certainly.
reflect on like, and we're both certainly always improving as AI founders, engineers,
Hmm.
and just, humans. But like if you had to try to pinpoint what has led you to have success thus far in managing coding agents on very complex tasks, like where do you think that comes from? And I know it's a tricky
Yeah, it's
question.
a very tricky question. I think with both of us, like just consistently pushing each other to be like ruthlessly direct
Hmm.
and like ruthlessly uh, clear on what the our task is a huge part of it. Certainly some of it is reading and like I think even at a higher level reading it, but also you have to know your stuff
Hmm.
at the end of the day.
Right.
Like you can't just like you have to know what the AI is doing, what it's thinking, and it is just that deep domain level of expertise, or at least being willing to learn how to do
That's
it.
great.
Because
Yeah.
yeah,
Or unlearn.
or unlearn exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's quite tiring as well. I
Yes, it
mean,
is quite tiring. But
I
then
know.
when you look back at like a week's time, I find that I'm learning at a rate that, I mean, it's exhausting, but I find that I'm learning at a rate that I've never
Yeah,
experienced.
yeah.
Eh, But it's hard.
It's extremely hard. I know you also read a lot. So like what do, it's a different level, but for we can go certainly to the business side.
Hmm.
Like how much about business do you think you've learned through could be AI, could be just through running CorridorIQ,
Yeah,
especially like that compression of learning
sure,
from
sure.
AI.
Yeah, I think from the business side, so I'll break that down into like the strategy, the operations, the people aspect. So that could be sales, mentorship, working with vendors, providers, negotiating contracts. Um, I actually don't think I've learned much of it at all from AI.
Mm,
I think I've learned most of it from real world experiences, uh, both from growing up playing competitive sports,
mm-hmm.
from different experiences in the educational realm, not from like what I've been necessarily taught directly in class,
Yeah.
but from the experiences of working with others. And maybe most importantly, from those who have walked this path before. One area that has made a huge difference in a lot of our lives, I think, is knocking on the doors of mentors in our network and even outside. And just, I feel very fortunate to have the mentors we do. They make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I also, take a lot of pride in our ability to reach out to as many people as we can and say, we are, young entrepreneurs on a big mission, and do you have a few minutes to just share some guidance of what you've learned?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so simple but so powerful. I think that so much of what we point our day-to-day strategy, our AI agents at, stems from a conversation that we may have had with a mentor, a month, three
Yeah.
months ago, 4 months ago, a year ago. And I think in a world that's getting more digital, where it's easier to turn to the AI because they're getting more powerful and it can write the code. It can write the code, it can run the test, it can make the deliverable.
Mm-hmm.
But it cannot sit down face to face with someone who has walked 10, 20, 30 plus years more of life than you have.
Yeah.
And I think that has given us a huge leg up, not necessarily just against our competitors, but just the two of us of how we've designed our own workflows.
Yeah.
I think that is probably um, the most impactful piece from the
Yeah.
business side, and then just going out there and doing it.
Yeah. And to follow up, like it seems like the trend is slightly like it's also about the human level physical interaction of the day to day.
For sure.
And I think one workflow that you brought that we both do now
Yeah.
was the
The
whiteboarding.
whiteboard. And yeah, so
Yeah.
that the whiteboard well, we can share the whiteboard. The whiteboard was our own adaptation of a framework from Jim Collins, from one of his books, BE 2.0, which is one of our favorites, who was recommended by a mentor of ours. And yeah, so Luke and I have done a workflow since the genesis of CorridorIQ that I don't see changing ever, probably, where without getting into too much details, every Sunday typically, we spend anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour plus with a big whiteboard and a marker, and we have a framework where we have a north star of a direction we're headed, the big objectives we're currently working on a 0 to 3, 4 month basis,
Hmm.
and then we compartmentalize that into what needs to be done this week to give us the highest probability of achieving our our
Yeah.
our big vision. And that has never had any there's no AI in that, and I don't think there ever
Intentionally so.
intentionally.
Yeah.
And it's hard because we sit there and we clash our heads and try to synthesize what's going on in the world around us and make a strategy and say what is really important and
Hmm.
how are we going to get there.
Yeah.
But I think I'd like to hear your thoughts. But I find doing that, setting our direction, and then with the right system in place, our company context, our memory, our database, our own internal tools and skills to go to my coding agent, my marketing agent, my email agent on a week-to-week basis, and then just be an operator and
Yeah.
execute.
Yes.
But I think without that direction, I would probably feel overwhelmed and like lost, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could never imagine having AI do our whiteboards.
No,
Like it would just wouldn't be the same.
no. And sometimes we're wrong,
Yeah.
but you have to be wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what about the importance of like the whiteboard and then just like taking action? Like, can you talk about that piece a little bit of
Yeah.
what we've learned by just,
I think that's just the nature of what we do. Like we
yeah,
just have to go. Um, AI is actually very good at helping us do that
yeah, right.
because we say, gotta do this now. And AI is like, okay, great.
Yeah,
So I really want to go back to the whiteboard just for a sec.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like the meta level of like you do the critical thinking first
Hmm.
and then you put AI into it is a
That's an
huge
unlock.
it's an unlock and it's I wouldn't say identity, but like a very large attribution to our success, at least for now.
And I think it's just a very honest reflection week over week that just is able to guide, I mean, at the core of it, startup is about a finite amount of resources, time, capital, people
Yeah.
to try to take down what can feel like a infinite problem, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which is incredibly exciting.
Yeah.
But I think breaking it down on a week over week basis and then just waking up each day and just saying, okay, what am I going to do today to
Mm-hmm.
chip away at that, iceberg has been it can help. It's helped me at least so far in guiding my day to day because it can feel quite frankly like very overwhelming sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah. Now I want to ask you, looking forward, what skills are you personally double downing on?
Yeah. I think there's a few big ones. One is learning how to learn.
Nice. Yeah.
You need to learn how to learn quickly, but also remove information that maybe you learned last week that seemed super new, but now is obsolete, and
Hmm.
there's a new skill for that,
Right.
there's something you have to learn how to voraciously like learn, relearn, be
Hmm.
extremely dynamic in that regard.
Hmm.
The other one I would say is certainly communication.
Hmm.
The learning how to communicate your ideas to, within the business world, but also learn how to communicate with the AI.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's certainly a muscle I am working to improve on
Hmm.
uh, quite consistently. Um, I'd say another one is we kind of talked about in the beginning, but it is a muscle, and you have to flex it to consistently break down your glass ceilings
Mm-hmm.
and learn to think as big as possible. Like, don't think about the how as much, just like what would it take and how can we achieve that?
Mm-hmm.
Would be the three skills I would say are pretty important to just keep building. But
Mm-hmm.
I would point the question right back at you.
If intelligence is becoming cheaper, as you mentioned, then is the limit, then I believe personally, the limiting or bottleneck aspect of that is your context and what you think is possible.
Yeah.
And that's a weird thing to try to grok.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for sure, challenging yourself to say all the time, like challenging assumptions is one. Two, I think one thing I've learned from working with and learning from some really tremendous mentors is, you know, understanding the people component and EQ. I think it's so
Yes,
important.
that's good.
Even in the world of AI, just the other week, Luke and I, we had the chance to participate at UVA's Knowledge Continuum.
Mm-hmm.
And the one I want to point out is we got to hear from Anton Kornak, who's going to join Anthropic
Yep.
on their economic AGI, advisory board.
Mm-hmm.
And he does research on labor markets and work. And he shared that it's very, very possible and probable that the economy and world will look totally different from AI, and that the AI economy will dwarf
Mm-hmm.
the human economy.
Yeah.
And I was really thinking about that. And one area that I maybe don't fully agree with is that I think that even if AI can do more and can take over a lot of labor, I still think that teams will be able to outperform really well organized teams with AI systems will still be winners, in my opinion. I really do believe in the power of teams, and a, a group with a shared vision or goal is just so powerful. So the short answer is leaning into the human aspect of how can you organize teams and organize groups around a shared goal and push that mission forward.
Yeah.
I think it's critical, and I'm ever more bullish on that
Mm-hmm.
and have more agency. And
Yeah.
that excites me, quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Two things. One, yeah, being high agency,
High agency.
certainly
Yeah.
extremely valuable. I mean, to use inverted thinking, like, what do you think are the skills that would hinder progress? Like, what are the opposite, like the anti-skills
Yeah.
that would prevent someone from being successful?
Being well, I don't know like maybe you'll know the word better than me, but is there what's the opposite of plasticity? Like rigidity?
Guess maybe like, yeah, static or like,
Static? Yeah.
yeah.
I think static workflows.
Mm-hmm.
Static workflows, rigidity, resistance. I think you just got to embrace that. Like, I think it was Jamie Dimon
Mm-hmm.
at Davos this year. He was like, someone was asking about AI and like, what's going to happen with their employees, and he was like, guys, like, it's here. It's of course it's going to change. It's here.
Yeah.
Like, just embrace it and become even more valuable.
Yeah.
If you try to fight it, like, what you're just gonna like. So I think rigidity.
Mm-hmm.
I think staying tied to your um, legacy workflows, legacy way of solving problems,
Yeah.
it will be a huge bottleneck. So what about you? What would you say is like one like anti-skill?
I think one that could be really an excellent anti-skill
Mm-hmm.
would be think there's still largely the paradigm that AI is like cheating.
Oh yeah.
And I think that it's time for that one to go because it's only cheating, if you're outsourcing your thinking,
If you're cheating,
if you're actually cheating.
that's a human thing.
That's yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like if when the paradigm shifts to where like AI is an amplifier of your intangibles, I think that whatever the opposite of that is would certainly be the anti-skill. So I guess if I could crystallize it, it would be maybe laziness or
Mm-hmm.
like just being just like Claude, ChatGPT, just think for me, do all
Yeah,
my work for me.
rigorous outsourcing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That makes total sense. Well, this has been, I think, this has been a fantastic breakdown. I really enjoyed this.
yeah. This is fun.
It's outside of my comfort zone,
Certainly
but
mine. Yeah,
I look forward to doing more of these, and I'm so excited to just fly this summer with CorridorIQ and bring migration intelligence and deep research and machine learning and intelligent and proactive data to anyone who wants it. And
yeah,
now you can do that, and we will do that. And we're so excited to work with our current partners and future partners. It's going to be a great summer.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll be seeing you around lots.
Yeah. See you in a few minutes.
Yeah.